So welcome to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going over the AQA GCSE paper of June 2023, Foundation Paper 2, which is a calculator paper. Now before we get started working through this paper, a little reminder that if you're wanting access to the paper, what you need to do is just simply click on the link below, and I'll also include a question breakdown so you can see which question refers to which topic. So if you struggle on any of the questions, you can see what topic it relates to and maybe go back and revise that topic. I'll also include a link to the 162 Maths contents page, which has access to all the lessons that goes over each of the maths topics in greater detail, access to topic tests, audits and other exam paper walkthroughs. So let's get started on question 1. So question 1 says, here is a number line, what is the number at x? So as you can see, looking at how many gaps that we have between the intervals that have been given, so here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so we want to do 20 divided by 4, which is 5. So that means that the number line is going up in 5s. And if that is the case, then x is going to be at 35. Then for 1b, it says that here is a different number line. What is the number at y? So again, if we apply the same rule, so here we've got 1, 2, 3. So we've got minus 6 divided by 3, which is minus 2. So that means it's going up in 2. So here we've got minus 4, minus 2. So y is at minus 2. Moving on to question 2, it says match each expression on the left with a simplified expression on the right. So here, if I just zoom out so we can see all the options, and there we go. So here we've got 3a plus 4a, which is 7a, and so we just need to join those two boxes there. 3a times 3a, well 3 times 3 is 9, and a times a is a squared. So we just need to match that one up with this one here. 3 times 6 is 18, so that's going to be 18a, and that is going to be there. And finally, 12a divided by 4, or if we divide both numbers by 4, we get 3a. So it's just that one there. Moving on to question 3, it says here are some shapes. Each shape has an area of 6 square centimeters, and for 3a it says which has the bigger perimeter, shape A or shape B. So for shape A, as it's worth 2 marks, we need to write down what the perimeter is. So we pick a point. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then we do the same for shape B. So here, picking a point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So which has got a bigger perimeter? The answer is going to be A. It then says which shape is congruent to A, so which one is identical to A? It could be rotated, it could be reflected, and the answer we want to mark there is going to be D. Moving on to question 3c, it says which two shapes fit together to make a rectangle? So for this, the two that you want to write in any particular order are going to be C and E. It then says for 3D, on the grid, draw a reflection of shape C. And it says show your mirror line. So now it really does depend where you draw your mirror line. There's loads of different options, and again your answer could be completely different to mine as long as it is a reflection and you draw your mirror line. So I'm going to draw my mirror line here. And again, make sure you are using a ruler. And so as you can see, it's 2 away. So my F is going to look something like this. Now I'm not using a ruler, but you need to make sure that you are. So there's one example. I could have a mirror line here in which my F is going to look like this. You could also have your mirror line going horizontal, in which what you'll end up with is something that looks like that. And again, make sure you are being neat and you're being accurate as well. Moving on to question 4, it says points P and Q are shown on the grid. Write down the coordinates of P. So remember that when you're doing coordinates, we need to go across first, then up. So P is going to have a coordinate of 4, 3. Then for question 4b, it says angle PQ is a right angle. Work out the possible coordinates of R. So here you can see that the right angle needs to be here. Or alternately, it could be on this side here. So we know it's a right angle. So what you need to make sure is you've got a y ordinate of -3. Now your x ordinate can be any number that is not not positive 4. So as long as it's not 4 and you've got a y ordinate of -3, it can be any number. So I could write 6, I could write 3, I could write -4, I could write -5. Any number here would be absolute fine. So I'm just going to go for -1. Now moving on to question 5.8, it says that a shop sells bottles of orange juice for 75 pence. Work out the greatest number of bottles that can be purchased with £5. So on the calculator, all I need to do is do 5 divided by 0.75, because you need to make sure when working with money that you've got the same amount. And if I then just simply type that into my calculator, which is going to appear now, 5 divided by 0.75, press equals, press the SD button, we've got 6.6. So I've got enough to buy 6 exact bottles. Now alternatively, what you could do is just count up in 75 pences. So we've got 1.5, we've then got £3.25. We've then got, oh sorry, £2.25. We've then got £3, then £3.75, then £4.50, and that's where it stops. And as you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For 5b, it says 2 shops sell bottles of apple juice, and we've got shop X, which sells packs of 4 bottles, was £2.50, now 10% off, and shop Z, which sells packs of 12 bottles. It says, at which shop is it cheaper to buy 24 bottles? So if we start with shop X, so for this, what we need to do is we're going to need to buy 6 packs. And each pack is going to be £2.50 minus 10%. So 10% of £2.50 is 25 pence. So we're going to have 25 pence off each bottle. So then we're going to do 6 times 2.25. Again, if I type that into my calculator, 6 times 2.25, I get an answer of £13.50. Then if I then work out for shop Z, I'm going to need 2 packs, and that's going to be 2 times 7, which is £14. So which is cheaper? It's going to be shop X. Moving on to question 6, it says that a game has 4 cards labelled A, B, C, D. Ellie picks 2 cards at random. Complete the list of 6 possible pairs of cards she could pick. So again, the possible combinations you could have, and you can write this in any order, but it's nice and easier to have a structured order. So we could have AC, AD, BC, BD, and finally CD. Then for 7.8, it says complete the boxes using 2 different even numbers and 2 different odd numbers to make this the case. Now again, there's going to be lots of different combinations, but you need to make sure that we're picking 2 different even numbers and 2 different odd numbers. So again, if you're not sure, just simply check those 2 rules and then just simply type into the answer and calculator rather, and see if it adds up to give you 46. So a prime example would be 11 and 8 and 6 and 21. So that's one combination where my 2 odd numbers are 11, 21, 2 even numbers are 8 and 6. Moving on to 7b, it says complete the boxes using a factor of 12 and a factor of 40. So factors of 12, remember, are numbers that divide into without giving a remainder. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 12. And factors of 40 are 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, and then we've got 10, we've got 20, and we've got 40. So again, only using those numbers. And again, possible combination we could have are going to be 3 times 10 in any order, or you could have 6 and 5. So again, any of those, but again, always only remember to give one possible option on those. Then says for 7c, complete the boxes using 1 square number and 1 prime number. So again, another again, going through square numbers, we've got 1, 4, 9, 16, we've got 25, 36, 49. Prime numbers, again, got 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, blah, blah, blah. And again, a possible combination you could have is going to be 36 and 2. So again, lots of different combinations you potentially could have, but I'm going to go for those two. But again, with this, make sure it is in that order, and again, check on your calculator. Now, moving on to question 8, it says 93 people were asked if they played online games one day. The frequency tree shows some information about their answers. And for question 8A, it says 75% of the people who answered yes played one game. Complete the frequency tree. Well, for this, the first thing we can complete is this block here. And to do that, all we need to do is just do 93 minus 48. And I can type that into my calculator and get the answer of 45. Now, for this one, this is where a lot of students went wrong, because in the information that's given, it says 75% of the people who answered yes played one game. So when asking, did they play more than one game, the answer to this would be no. So this here, to work out the no, is we then need to work out 75% of 48. And to do that, all I need to do is just do 0.75 multiplied by 48, or do 3/4 times 48, in which we get the answer of 36. So if this is 36, we can then work out what this block here is by doing 48 minus 36, which gives us the answer of 12. Then for question 8b, it then says for one of the 93 people is chosen at random, it says the probability to use social media is more than 0.68. What is the smallest possible number of people who use social media? So for this, all I then need to do is simply do 0.68 multiplied by 93, which on the calculator gives me an answer of 63.24. And we want the smallest possible number, so I need to round up to the nearest whole person, and that's going to give me an answer of 64. Then moving on to question 9a, it says the cost of a TV streaming service is £6 per month for the first 4 months and then £11 for the rest of the year. Work out the total cost for the year. So for this, we've got £6 for 4 months. Remember, there's 12 months in a year. So we've got 6 times 4, and that's going to give me £24. And then the remaining months, in which there are 8 months, so that's going to be 8 times 11, which is 88. And then all that's left for me to then do is add those two numbers up together, giving me an answer of 112. For question 9b, it says a TV series has 10 episodes. 9 episodes are 50 minutes long and 1 episode is 1 hour 42 minutes long. Work out the total length of the series. Give your answer in hours and minutes. Now for this, we can there's lots of things in which we could do. So here we could do 50 times 9, which is going to be 450 minutes. And then the final episode, which is 60 plus 42, which is 102. And adding those numbers up, we get 255. So that's the total number of minutes. And then if we want to convert this into hours and minutes, well, all we then need to do is on the calculator, you've got your time feature. So if I just enter, we've got 0 and then we've got 552 minutes. I've got no seconds. Press this, press equals, and it converts it for me. So here we've got 9 hours and 12 minutes. And again, if you've worked out any other way, then that's absolutely fine, as long as you've got the answer of 9 minutes 12. I just thought I'd show you how to do that on your calculator. Moving on to question 10a, it says there are 1,020 books in a box. 2/5 of the books are blue. How many are blue? So for this, what we need to do is just work out 2/5 of 1020. Of means times. So all I need to do is just type that into my calculator. So 2/5 times 1020, which gives me an answer of 408. Moving on to question 10b, it says there are green pens and red pens in a box. The ratio of green to red is 4:3. What fraction of the pens are green? So green is 4 parts. And we've got a total of 7 parts. So therefore the fraction is going to be 4/7. Then for 10C it says there are some calculators in the box. 220 are scientific, 30 are not. What percentage of the calculators are scientific? So here we've got a total of 250 calcs. So to work out the percentage, it's the number of scientific calculators over the total multiplied by 100. So again, if I type that all into my calculator, I should get an answer of 88%. Moving on to question 11, it says here is a Venn diagram. The total sample size is 80. H represents the number of people who own a gaming headset, and W represents those who own a smartwatch. For 11.8 it says 15 of the people own a smartwatch. Complete the Venn diagram. So what we know is that everyone inside this W circle needs to add up to 15. So if the inner bit is, the middle bit is 7, this bit here is going to be 15 minus 7, which is 8. And then from this we know that the total is 60. So then all we then need to do is just do 60 minus the numbers that we've got, which is 24 plus 7 plus 8. And that gives me an answer of, that's going to be 21. Then moving on to question 11b, it says one of the 60 people are chosen at random. What is the probability that they both own both a gaming headset and a smartwatch? Well, the number that own both is going to be 7 out of a total of 60. So it's 7/60, and we can't simplify that, so that there is our final answer. Then moving on to 11c, it says Merrick is going to buy a gaming headset that costs £35. He already has £19. He plans to save the rest in 2 equal amounts over the next 2 weeks. He uses his method to work out in pounds how much to save each week. And it says what is wrong with his method. And again, one of the problems that he's got is the use of BIDMAS. So here what we need to do is need to use brackets and around the 35 minus 19, and something along those lines would be absolutely fine. So just to do that, he needs to do that first rather than divide by 2, because if obviously with BIDMAS it'll do the 90 divided by 2 first and then subtract the answer from 35. So again, you can either write it in words or you potentially could show what it should be. They may accept that. So again, it's entirely up to you. But again, you could say what that equals and show that it's wrong, and we go from there. Moving on to question 12, it says that Kai says that 3 to 2 is equivalent to 9 to 6. Joe says that 1.5 to 1 is equivalent to 9 to 6. Who is correct? So let's have a look at the comparison. So if we've got 9 to 6 and we've got 3 to 2, so this is looking at Kai. And what we want to do is we want to see if you can divide the same number to get from one to the other. So here to get from 9 to 3, we need to divide by 3, and 6 divided by 3 is correct. Then if we look at Joe, so here we've got 1.5 to 1 to 9. Now how many 1.5s do we need to make into 9? Well, we're going to need 6. So if I multiply 1.5 by 6, I get 9. And if I do 1 times 6, I get 6. So actually they are both correct. And again, what I do for that working, and it's making sure that you do show you're working out in some form of explanation, is just write it in that space there. Moving on to question 13, it says 28 is increased by 25%, 40 is decreased by 15%. Which answer is bigger? So for this, if we start with the first one, let me just label that as number 1. So for number 1, increasing by 25%, or we've got 28 multiplied. Now you always start with 100%, so increasing by 25%, so 100 plus 25 is 125. That as a decimal is 1.25, and if I type that into my calculator, I get 35. Then if I do the second one, so this one here, 40 decreased by 15, so if I do 100 minus 15, that equals 85. So for number 2, I need to do 40 multiplied by 0.85, and I get an answer of 34. So which answer is bigger? all I then need to write is 28 increased by 25%. So something along those lines would be absolutely fine. Moving on to question 14, it says factorise 12a plus 15b. So here, looking at the numbers, what's the biggest number that goes into both 12 and 15? Well, that's going to be 3. So what do you have to multiply 3 to get 12a? Well, that's going to be 4a. What do you have to multiply 3 to get 15b? That's going to be 5b. It then says for question 15, write down all the integers that satisfy the inequality. So here, if we write down all the numbers between 2 and 3, minus 3 and 2. Now, if it's got a little line underneath it, it means it can equal that number. If it hasn't, I need to get rid of that number. So the possible numbers are minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0 and 1. Question 16, it says the linear sequence starts in 7, 10, 13, 16. Write down the expression for the nth term of this sequence. So here, looking at the difference, I need to add 3. So that means I'm going to have 3n in the formula. And then what do you have to do if you get from 3 to 7? Well, I need to add 4. So then the nth term is going to be 3n plus 4. Then moving on to question 17, it says Jess saves 2p, 5p and 10p coins. She has 45 10p coins, 8 times as many 2p coins as 10p coins, and she has £17.70 in total. And the question is asking us to work out the total value of 2p coins to the total value of 5p coins. And we need to give our answer in its simplest form. And this question is worth 4 marks. So first things first, let's look at the 10p coins. So from this, we know that there's 45 10p coins. So that's going to be 45 times 0.10, and that comes up to a total of £4.50. Now we know that there are 8 times 2p coins as 10p coins. So looking at the 2p coins, we're going to have a total of 8 times as many. So if we've got 45 10p coins, if I multiply that by 8, and again, just typing that onto the calculator, I've got 8 times 45 gives me 360. So 360 multiplied by 0.02, that comes up to a total of £7.20. Then we can then work out what the total of the 5p coins is going to be by deducting the grand total from these two totals we know. So that's going to be £17.70 minus £4.50 minus £7.20, and that comes up to a total of £6. So all I then need to do is just compare these two as a ratio. So then we've got 2p coins and we've got 5p coins, and now just working with pence, I've got 720 to 600. Then all I then need to do is simplify this ratio. Now again, if I use my calculator, I can treat it as a fraction. So if I did 720 over 600, press equals, and it simplifies to give me 6 to 5. And there is my final answer for that one. Moving on to question 18, it says, in a game, an ordinary fair 6-sided dice is rolled. A fair spinner shown is spun. And it says complete the table to show all the possible scores. So for this, all I then need to do is just multiply the numbers, substitute it into the expression. So here I'm going to have the numbers to times by 2. So that's going to be 2, 4, 6, 10 and 12. Then I multiply those numbers by 3. So that gives me 3, 9, 12, 15 and 18. And then I square those numbers. So that's going to be 1, 4, 9, 16 and 36. Moving on to 18b, it says a player wins a game if their score is 10 or more. So going back to this, if I then kind of highlight which ones are 10 or more. So I've got those there. So I've got 8 of those. So the answer is going to total of 18. So it's going to be 8 over 18. And then I can simplify that as 4 over 9. So any of those two answers would be fine to get the single mark. For 18c, it says a game is played 711 times. Estimate the number of games in which they are won. So here the probability of winning is 4 over 9. So if I multiply my answer from B, multiply that by 711, type it into my calculator, I get an answer of 316. Then for question 19a, it says part of a regular polygon is shown. Assume that the polygon is an octagon. Work out the size of angle x. Now in an octagon we've got 8 sides. Now to work out the exterior angle, it's 360 divided by the number of sides. So for this it's going to be 360 divided by 8, which gives me an answer of 45 degrees. It then says, in fact, the polygon has more sides than an octagon. What does this mean about the size of angle x? Well, that means if we've got more sides, it means our denominator is going to be bigger, so we're going to be dividing by a bigger number. So that means the answer is going to be therefore smaller. Moving on to question 20, it says write down the translation vector that maps A onto B. So we want to go from A to B. So again, looking at the translation vector, if you pick a point, so I want to go from that point to this point here. So going across first, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going down 3 boxes. So it's going to be 4 minus 3. Moving on to question 21, it says the volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. And the question's saying that water is poured into the bowl at a rate of 325 cubic centimeters per second for 8 seconds. What does the water fill more than 70% of the bowl? So for this, the first thing we need to do is work out the volume of the bowl. And we use this formula here with a radius of 12. So then working this out, we're going to do 4/3 times pi times 12 cubed. And if I type that into my calculator, I get 2304 pi. Now again, if I wanted to work that out, now remember we've got a hemisphere, so we then need to divide that by 2, in which I'm going to get, and again, let me just type that in which then we get 2304 pi divided by 2, and we get an answer of 3619.114737. So then what we then need to do is then look at the rate of what this is. So here, to work this out here, so the water is going to be 8 lots of 325. And again, if I type that into my calculator, 8 times 325 gives me an answer of 2,600. So now all that's left for me to then do is work out the percentage, which is the percentage of the water divided by the percentage of the volume of the volume of the bowl. I'm going to use the exact figures and I'm going to multiply that answer by 100. So I've got 2,600 divided by 3619.114737. Multiply that by 100 and I get an answer of 71.84%. So the question says, does it fill more than 70%? The answer then is yes. Moving on to question 22, it says show that the two rectangles are similar. Now for this, what we need to do is take two corresponding sides. So I've got 5 and 8, and show that when I divide the two numbers, it equals the same. So here, if I do 5 divided by 12, type that into my calculator, I get an answer of 0.416 recurring. And if I then do 12, actually sorry, that should be 8. Let me just go back and change that. So here we've got 5 divided by 8. We get 0.625. That seems a bit better. And then if we then do 12 divided by 19.2, I get the exact same answer. So as you can see, these two numbers here are the same, so therefore are similar. For question 23, it says a factory packs X boxes of tea bags per hour. Each box contains 80 tea bags. Show that the factory packs 4x over 3 tea bags per minute. So for this, all I then need to do is do, well, the number of tea bags, there's 80 tea bags in a box, so that's going to be 80x, and we're going to divide that by how many minutes there are per minute, or per hour should I say. So we divide that by 60 because we want it per minute, and then all that's left for me to then do is simplify. So I can cancel the zeros, And simplifying 8 over 6 gives me 4 over 3. And there we go. And there we go.